Right. Good day, everyone. Sunday Okafor once again. I welcome you to today's session on Scholarship Insights in 60 minutes. Here with me is Opeoluwa Adewale. Yes, I get that correct. It's my prayer to have Ope with me here today. So I welcome you all everywhere, wherever you're joining us from Nigeria, from any country in Africa, Ghana, Zimbabwe, Kenya, Uganda, wherever you're joining us from, outside Nigeria, India. I have a lot of Indian fans. So India, wherever, any part of the world, I welcome you once again to today's session. We'll be starting in 3 minutes, okay? So as usual, we have 5 minutes to wait for people to join us. So once it's 3:05, we go straight into it. I bring my special guest on board and we can start straight up, okay? So wherever you're joining us from, let us know in the comment box. Tell us your location. What program are you looking at to apply for? Let's know. Like, you might meet someone that you can, you share the same interest together here. So put it in the comment box and we'll get started very soon. All right, so, and share this link with your colleagues who are not here yet. Let them come on and join us, all right? Okay, we'll be starting soon. Thank you. All right, so while we're waiting for others to join us, I want to quickly share these links online so guys can know that we're live, okay? All right, so we are moving on straight up. Right, welcome everyone once again from Nigeria, every part of the world where you're joining us. It's my pleasure once again to have Mr. Opeoluwa Adewale with me. So quickly, Ope, I will introduce myself and I'll give you the floor to introduce yourself to us. And straight up, we'll go into it, okay? All right, my name is Sunday Okafor. I've been running this Scholarship Insights in 60 minutes for about 2 months now. And the purpose of this is to bring scholars from different fields to come and share their experience, come and share their insight on scholarships, how to make strong scholarship applications, how you can maximize different scholarship opportunities, funding opportunities all over the world. All right, so, and today I have here with me Mr. Opeoluwa Adewale. So for those of you who don't know me, basically, I'm a PhD student, currently a PhD student at the University of Alabama here in the USA. My area of research is in transportation engineering. So I'll give the floor to my guest. Ope, please, can we meet you? Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Sunday, for this, for inviting me. I'm sure that most of you don't know me. It's difficult to not find someone who doesn't know Sunday at this point.
Come on, okay, stop.
So therefore, I think my introduction is very necessary. So, of course, my name is Opeoluwa Adewale. I'm currently a first-year PhD student at Johns Hopkins University, the Department of Molecular Microbiology and Immunology. My research focuses on malaria and generally parasitic protozoans. And my emphasis is on building molecular tools to study the functions of genes in the parasite, and then to identify novel drug and vaccine targets. I think it's going to be really nice for me to start by giving you some insight into my story and my journey thus far before I then begin to share some hot secrets about funding. It's important. I'm so grateful to Mr. Sunday for this platform, because when I was applying, I had little or no experience and I made costly mistakes. And so one of the things that keeps me going, I think it's a similar passion that Mr. Sunday shares, which is the desire to ensure that people don't repeat our mistakes, that people don't have to face what we faced, that things are smoother for other people, and even people achieve greater things than we achieved and we could ever think of achieving. That's progress, that is development. And that's what we want for the continent, not just the continent, but that's what we want for the world. Because if Africa does not develop, if third world countries don't develop, the world will still remain as it is now, stagnant and probably on a downward slope as well. So by way of still introduction, I completed my bachelor's from the Redeemers University, microbiology. So shout outs to all the microbiologists out there, microbiologists out there. Then after my bachelor's at the Redeemers University, so I completed a master's as well at the same university. So my master's was in molecular biology and genomics. Of course, for my bachelor's, by God's grace, I graduated as the best student with a really good grade, and plus my master's with several research opportunities that I made use of, traveling abroad to study and everything. I thought to myself that if I were to apply to a school abroad for a PhD, particularly in the US, because students can easily transition from an undergrad level to a doctoral level. So I felt that effortlessly I was going to get into a PhD position in the US. So therefore, I rested on my oars and I applied to 10 schools in the US. I applied to 10 schools with no experience, with no knowledge, without, if I had people like Mr. Sunday back then, probably what I'm about to tell you would not have been as bad as it happened. So I applied to 10 schools, and out of 10 schools, I got 11 rejections. I'm sure you might be wondering how someone get 11 rejections when you only apply to 10 schools. So that's a mystery. That was because in one of those schools, I applied to 2 programs. It was not because I wasn't a good candidate. It was simply because I did not know, first of all, how to sell myself. I did not know how to prepare my application, and I did not know how to secure funding. So that's why, I tell you something, it's not really a function of your credentials. It's just a matter of how well you can brand yourself to those who are looking for students. And I didn't know how to do that. So after I got the rejection, because one of the schools I wanted to go to is the school I am in now, which is Hopkins. After I got the rejection from Hopkins, I was frustrated. I was working as a lecturer back then, what you refer to as a graduate assistant. And I remember that day I had to go back to my apartment and I cried. At that point, I was about to give up. I wanted to give up on pursuing grad school and everything. So just use this as an opportunity to encourage somebody out there. Because I tell you, this process is not an easy one. You see Mr. Sunday looking fresh now, but when he was applying, I'm telling you, I'm sure he was applying with Gary and Granota and saving money to buy all those things he had to buy and everything. So you might be facing such a situation. Probably there is no electricity where you are now, watching this on your phone, which is about to die or something. Those are the situations that we experience. It's normal. I was about to give up. And I remember the next day, as I was washing my car the next day, a thought just came to me, why don't I write a letter to the school? And I wrote a letter to the school. I wrote a letter of appeal. It was a risky decision, but at that point, I knew I couldn't, what could be worse than already being rejected? So I thought I had nothing to lose. So I went ahead and I wrote a letter. I wrote a letter to the school, to the admissions office. And in that letter, I emphasized why I applied to the school. I emphasized the conditions in which I applied. And they were really impressed by that letter. And so they gave me admission for the master's. And for the master's, I was given a partial scholarship for the master's. So, and currently, to cut the long story short, I applied last year to several PhD programs, and I got admitted from some of the best schools in the world. I got admitted from Stanford. I got admitted by Stanford, Cambridge, also Hopkins, and some other schools as well. So what am I trying to say? I'm glad that I experienced these things because I can speak to both sides of people. I can speak to those who, unfortunately, due to their grades, might find it difficult to secure scholarships. I can provide alternative means for you to fund your education without necessarily applying for an external scholarship, such as the prestigious ones which we know, which are really competitive, such as Chevening, Commonwealth. Not everyone can win those scholarships, but there are alternative funding sources for you. As well as speaking to those who have the grades and who, like myself, was ignorant and complacent, so that they don't experience what I experienced. So that is something that keeps me going, and that's why I co-founded the Achievers Forum to ensure that these mistakes don't perpetuate, that people find things much easier than what I experienced. And I'm glad, particularly this year, I think Sunday too can allude to this fact that we have built a community. You have people who have been here before, Dr. Babajide, Dr. Kelechuku, and so many other people. We have built a community where everyone is supporting each other. That is what I lacked. And so I am optimistic that those of you listening today, you will definitely share your testimonies, in the coming year. So next time when Mr. Sunday will be having the Scholarship Insights 60 minutes program, I'm sure you have several panelists, some of which would have benefited from this session. All right, so to go straight to my talk now, I'm going to start by telling you that funding exists. Funding exists, but you have to find funding. You have to secure funding. My advice for you is, don't think of pursuing graduate education abroad without considering how you would fund that education. It's very important. I know there is this tendency, there is a desire for us to want to leave the country because things are difficult. But you need to get your motivation right. I need to face reality, which is that education abroad requires money. It requires money, but the money you need is available. You have to find it. I was speaking to a student yesterday. Very sad case, very sad case. So I just want to emphasize to you why it's important for you to seek funding. I was speaking to a student yesterday, and she sent me a text message on WhatsApp, and she told me that she needed $5,000 or else they were going to terminate her student visa. How was I meant to find $5,000 in just a day? So I spoke with her. I knew there was nothing that could happen. I had to send her some money, not a loan, just to give it to her. But I knew there was nothing that could happen. And I felt like weeping. It was painful. I'm glad I spoke with her, because by speaking on this platform, having spoken to her, I can warn someone that funding is important for you to secure the education, for you to acquire the education, the exposure you desire. So how do you secure funding? Now I'm going to start by explaining the different funding avenues. It's important you hear this, because it's quite, it's for many of us, it looks confusing. We see so many people put on LinkedIn, oh, I just got this opportunity, master's program, I just got this. Some would win the Chevening scholarship, some would get a master's, but it's going to be through a different avenue, but it's still funding. So funding is funding and money is money. But we need to know how to get the money. So I'm going to explain the different ways you can get funding. So first of all, the first thing is you can get funding through a scholarship. You can get funding through a scholarship. That is the general, the most obvious means of getting funding through a scholarship. Now, it doesn't stop there, because with a scholarship, scholarships are of different types. They're of different types. Two broad categories of scholarships are external scholarships and internal scholarships. Now, external scholarships are scholarships by funding bodies. Such bodies could be governments. For example, you have the Swiss government scholarship, you have the Ireland government scholarship, you have the Australian government scholarship. You could also have your own government providing some scholarship for higher education for students. I have a friend who she's from Indonesia. She came here to study on an Indonesian government scholarship. I think Ghanaian students too have some form of funding also. I think maybe only for health practitioners or something, but there's some form of scholarship. So you can find out from your Ministry of Education to start with if there is such funding available and what are the eligibility criteria for that. But unfortunately, I don't know if Nigeria has such set of funding opportunities. But you can get a scholarship, so like I said, from the government, your government or the government of the country to which you are planning to apply to. You could also get a scholarship which is from the school itself, which is an internal scholarship. So those internal scholarships are such that the schools advertise scholarships. And then when you see an advertisement whereby you have the name of a school and a scholarship by it, that is an internal scholarship. It's a scholarship that you compete for. You compete for admission in that school as well as funding for that same position in the school. So also part of the external scholarship is scholarship from an organization. So an example of such a scholarship is you have scholarships from the DAS scholarship to Germany. You have Erasmus Mundus scholarship. You have the Wellcome Trust scholarship. So the Wellcome Trust provides, it's a funding body that has, I think, one of the largest funding resource. You understand? You have also funding from research councils. So for us in the life sciences, you have Medical Research Council. These are scholarship bodies as well too. So apart from scholarships, let me also add, another source of funding is funding from grants, research grants. Now, let me explain the research grant. Listen to the research grant. So with a research grant is provided to a researcher or to a project. So when you're applying for a research grant, when you're applying for a position advertised under a project, you will automatically be funded by the grant to that project. So to apply to such positions, what you do then is that in many cases, the positions are advertised. So for those of us who are on LinkedIn and who have been following someone like Sunday and some other people too, there are a lot of people who have been publicizing positions. So those are positions. For those positions, they are funded. The professor will not request for students if he cannot fund them. So one of the easiest ways of finding funded positions is basically just being on LinkedIn and checking for those specific postings that has professors advertising positions. So that's how you get, you get funding for your education under a grant, either a position advertised under a project, or a position advertised by a professor. That is, the professor might not specify what the project is, but it will just indicate that I'm willing to take 1 or 2 PhD students. So that is how you get to grant. And that also includes fellowships. So fellowships are also attainable. When a professor advertises a position, know one thing, he will fund you with a grant. He could also fund you through a fellowship provided in the school. So that is, after you get the admission, then the professor will send your name to the school. The department will then register you for a fellowship. So just know, if a professor is interested in you, just know one thing, he's going to fund you. That's what you should take note. So another way of securing funding is by research assistantships or graduate assistantships. research assistant and graduate assistant. Now, that one is very important for a master's. It's important for a master's. You can get a master's, although there are fewer funding opportunities for a master apart from a scholarship. Because in the US, although PhD programs are usually fully funded, but a master in the US is usually not funded. But the good news is that you can get a master's, you can get admitted to a master's program that is fully funded through a graduate assistantship. So what does it mean when you're a graduate assistant? It means that you'll be working for a professor and you'll be paid. By reason of the work you are doing, you will get stipends as well as a tuition waiver, fully funded. I spoke with a student yesterday. I chatted with a student yesterday, last night. I wanted to find out, because I've been seeing a lot of people mentioning master's scholarship in the US, which is very rare. And she told me that she got this fully funded position through a graduate assistantship. And this was how she secured it. This is something we are still going to mention, along the way, through a graduate assistant. In most cases, to secure a graduate assistantship, you can apply to a department. When you apply to the department, you can then inquire from the department, okay, are there graduate assistantship positions available? That is, you automatically, once they admit you, you'll be automatically considered for the graduate assistantship. Or you send a cold email to a professor. I tell you something, sending a cold email, as far as I'm concerned, it appears to be one of the most effective ways, because the websites are usually obsolete. They're obsolete. They're usually 1 year or several months old. Professors are busy. They don't usually have the time. They're not the ones who have access to the websites. It's usually a programmer or someone who is on a part-time job. So if he wants to put anything new on the website, he has to send it to the programmer to put it there. So he might not have time. So the fastest way of knowing about a position is by contacting the professor, which we call cold emails. And I'm so glad that Mr. Sunday has extensively addressed this. Many of the things I'm saying are things that, in fact, I watched one of his videos, just to to know more about some of the things, because Mr. Sunday has extensively written on these things. And so you can check one. I don't know if you put one of his videos, attach one of the videos to this session on cold emails, but a cold email is one of the most effective ways of securing a graduate assistantship. What is a cold email? A cold email is simply an email that gives a first impression of you to a professor. Know one thing, the professor is busy. He's seeing a random email from somewhere. You need to, in the shortest amount of time, catch the attention of the professor and prove to him that you are the one he needs. So that's a cold email. So a cold email is one way. I won't go into detail of how you write a cold email, since Mr. Sunday has extensively addressed that topic. You just watch his video and you'll know more about that. But a cold email is how you can get a graduate assistantship when you contact the professor and you ask him if there are positions available. If you find a professor you're interested in, you check the website and you ask him if there's a position available. If there is, he will let you know. If there is none, he can then refer you to one of his colleagues that he knows has a position that you can apply for. And so through that, you can easily get a funded opportunity, because the professor will let you know if he has a grant to fund you or not. So that's how one of the students got a graduate assistantship. All right. So one other way you can fund your education, this one is something that most people don't know about, is through financial aids as well as a loan. Now, some of the top schools in the US you would not even get a graduate assistantship. So it depends on different countries, Some countries in Europe, for example, there are so many scholarships you can apply for, so many scholarships. Erasmus Mundus, covers Europe generally, and so many other scholarships. That is just so, is so much, is a prestigious scholarship that many people apply to. But in the US, especially prestigious schools, it's difficult to get a graduate assistantship. Why? It's, first of all, very competitive. Also, they prefer investing in PhD students than investing in master students. Why? Because master students are taking from them, while PhD students are giving to them. So it's better to invest in people who are, increasing the research output of the country, rather than a master student who is just sitting down and taking knowledge. You understand? So it's really expensive. For example, if you want to go to Harvard, for example, you can get admission if you are good, if you have the credentials, but funding is a challenge. But for such schools, what you can look at is a financial aid. I know a friend of mine who is currently at Stanford. He's currently at Stanford, medical student from Nigeria, finished medicine. He's currently at Stanford Health Policy on a fully funded program. They had to get funding for him. How did he get funding? It was not directly through the normal application process, but they had to inquire by reaching out to the financial aid office. That is one of the ways you can do. So when you have admission or you're applying to a school, also begin to communicate with the financial services office or the financial aid office to know what opportunities are available within the school. That is how you can, particularly those really top schools that are very competitive and really high fees. Then also with those top schools, another thing you can do also is to secure a loan. They call it a student loan. So a loan can either be given by the government, federal loans. I'm talking particularly for the US, since I'm more conversant with how the system works here. You can get a student loan from the US government if you're a permanent resident here or something. But if you are an international student, which I think majority of us, if not all of us watching now, international students, you can get a loan from a bank. You can get a loan from a bank here to pursue your master's degree. And the good thing about this loan is that the loan will take care of your stipend, will take care of everything. You won't pay a single thing. And the loan will be paid directly to your school. So it won't go through you. They will be paying, you just be getting updates. Your school fees have been paid throughout. But of course, it's not for free. You're going to have to pay back eventually. But the good news is that it's flexible such that you can choose to pay back once you get employment, once you have gained employment. So 6 months after your program, once you have started working, you will be paying back a certain amount over a long period of time. And of course, as your career, depending on the course you are studying, take for example, somebody coming to the US to study public health. Public health is a course where you would always get employment. Like in my school at Hopkins, jobs chase students here. We used to have a special day when pre-COVID, where we would have employers of labor just gather and Hopkins students would just be going, they'll be hunting for literally hunting for Hopkins students. So depending on the program you are studying, if you come here to study nursing, for example, you can't do it without having a job. I met someone who studied political science, first class student, studied political science in Nigeria. He came to the US, studied nursing, and now he's working as a nurse. So how more so someone who started with a life science background and came to study nursing? You definitely have a job. So what that means is that although you might start paying early in your career, as your career progresses, it becomes easier for you to pay off your loan easily. At the end of the day, you have your education, the knowledge. No one can take the knowledge from you. They might take the money in your pocket, but they can't take the knowledge in your head. You understand? So those are ways. And if you come in for a master's through that avenue, then you can secure a PhD from that master's. Through your PhD, through the stipends of your PhD, you can pay off the loan you have from your master's. Finish your PhD, go for a postdoc, keep paying back the loan, get into a faculty position, keep paying back the loan, and you are done. Your life moves forward. So those are ways that I want to measure. I'm anticipating that there might be questions. So I just want to be very fast so that we can take those questions. I know. So I also want to tell you some other things that is not all. There are certain things that you need to understand about how to really find those scholarships I mentioned. I mentioned different methods. I mentioned scholarships, I mentioned graduate assistantships and grants and fellowships as well. But you need to know how to find them. This is something most students don't know, and it's important you take note. There are different ways of finding this opportunity. The first thing I would say is that the internet is your greatest resource now. The internet is your greatest resource now. If there's anything you have to invest on, don't invest on, thank God, Big Brother Nigeria's, but there's still going to be Big Brothers and other things that could distract you. This is the time to sacrifice. Invest on the internet. Invest on the internet. Get data and use your data wisely. See, if I were to advise you, there are 2 social media platforms that you need to fulfill destiny. You can survive without the other ones. Of course, WhatsApp is very important for communication. But two other ones that are most important, not Instagram, not Facebook, LinkedIn and Twitter. If all you have is LinkedIn and Twitter, I'm telling you, you will find these opportunities. When you join LinkedIn, what you do is you join groups, your scholarship groups. One example is Bright Scholarship, Scholarship Region, and some other scholarships. Some of them have skipped my mind now. Scholarship Region, Bright Scholarship, International Scholarships, and some other groups like that. These are groups that they post scholarships regularly. Mind you, they are not scams. People win those scholarships. And secondly, you follow individuals. There are individuals who regularly post some of these opportunities, scholarships, open positions in laboratory. These are authentic postings. For example, Sunday Okafor is here. Sunday has been posting some helpful material. I know of Mr. Isaac Antu. I know of Mr. Opeoluwa. I also post some things too. I know Adediji post some things too. Several other people. Find these people and follow them at this period. For the next, if you want to follow them for a short period of time and then you unfollow them, that's fine. But follow them for about this period, 5 months till summer next year. So you get a position. So then that's for LinkedIn. Then Twitter. Now, this is another thing that people don't know. Twitter is a unique environment. Twitter is unique because Twitter has the highest organic coverage by tweeting and retweeting. And so the algorithm creates a micro environment, a niche, a community for different people. You understand? So with Twitter, you follow professors. Take note. When you see a professor and you check the lab website, check for the Twitter handle of the lab website. Follow them. Why is this important? Because you might not necessarily end up with that lab, but you might end up getting information retweeted by that lab. That information could be the golden opportunity you have been looking for. And so as you keep searching for your professor, even if the professor tells you, I don't have a position, check for his lab handle, his Twitter handle, his own personal Twitter handle, or the Twitter handle of his lab. And then when you follow that, you will now check his followers or the people he's following. Follow those labs too. You can now check those people too. Follow the labs they are following too as well. What you do is that you have created a niche for yourself, and any opportunity that is posted within that community, you would always find it. Then lastly, on Twitter, follow people on Twitter. There are some people you need to follow on Twitter. Sunday Okafor, Aaron, Mr. Olowojobi, sorry, I used to mix up his name, Olamuyiwa or something. So Olamuyiwa, and some other people like that. Shinwa Ajayi, Samuel Ajayi. There are so many people who keep posting things on Twitter. Follow them. Like I said, if you want to unfollow them later, you can unfollow them later. But this period of time, follow them. So lastly, I want to mention some qualities that will determine that the distinguished candidates, that will determine whether a candidate would be able to win, secure a funding opportunity or not. They are as follows. First is you have to be proactive. I hope we have undergraduate students here. Start early. Even if you are not applying this year, the fact that you are here, I think, proves that you were proactive. Start early. Think ahead. When you start your application, think ahead. Search for professors. Think ahead. Think ahead always. That's how you can secure, and then be thorough. Be thorough. In Africa, particularly in Nigeria, we don't have a reading culture. You see students, you send a post, people will be asking you the same question and that you have answered on the post already. So when you search for these opportunities, read the criteria, be thorough. Read many of the things that many of the things that the questions people ask, they can be answered with a simple search on Google. Make Google your friend. Make Google your friend. Make the internet your friend and be thorough. Next is that you need to be persistent. You need to be persistent. I'm not saying you should be troubling professors and be sending them messages every 2 hours. No, but you need to be persistent. you need to be resilient and keep pushing. If you are to apply to 10 schools, and if it means you have to write 10 different SOPs and review those 10 different SOPs yourself, do it yourself and pay the price. The last thing is be passionate. It is passion that will keep you up late in the night working on your SOP. There's passion that will keep you up, late in the night reading the papers of professors that you intend to send cold emails to. It is passion that will cause you to do all those things. It's a passion that will cause you to read for the GRE exam if you have to take it, or the IELTS or whatever exam you have to take. It is passion. So be passionate. Be passionate. So I think that is all I have to say. I don't know if there are any questions or if there's anything Mr. Sunday wants to ask me.
Oh, I wish you don't stop. Thank you very much for that expository presentation talk. I quite agree with every single thing you said, and different ways you can get funding. Like there are different ways. There's no one particular way to do it, right? But here in the US, as you rightly said, graduate teaching assistantship, graduate research assistantship, those are the two common funding opportunities, especially within the universities we're applying to. Like if you check the recent video I did on different funded programs in University of Alabama, you find out that these things are not hidden. It is right there on the website.
Yeah.
Like when you search for that program you want to apply to, just go to the funding section of that department. You will see it very clearly written there. The amount of they pay for teaching assistantship, if they are paying for research assistant, they will put it there. They will give you the conditions, how you can stand out, right? So I was given a presentation area today on one event. I was telling them how, you can make your application strong to stand out. And one of the things that people usually ignore is some just see a program they are interested in and they go ahead and start applying for it. They not take the time to research for what type of funding are available. Mm-hmm. Like I have someone that will say, I got an offer from social university. How can I get research? How can I get funding for it? I'll be like, what? You didn't even think of how you're going to fund the program in the first place before you apply. And that is very wrong. And the advantage of checking for funding criteria or the type of funding available, especially on a level of graduate assistantship, is that it will provide you some information that you can incorporate into your application. For instance, a department says on their website that graduate teaching assistantship is awarded based on expected abilities. That is a key there. That's a key statement there, expected teaching abilities. That tells you that, okay, if you are writing your SOP, you have to express that you have qualities. You have to, in your CV, you have to put in details of your teaching experience, and you have to kind of, okay, what are the new ways, new modern teaching techniques now? We have online teaching. If you are employed as a teaching assistant, it's likely that you're going to be teaching students online and in person. So now you look at, okay, what are the qualities that can make me stand out? Because you are not there in the school yet. So it is based on your application that they will decide, okay, I think this person is a good fit, right? So knowing those information gives you a leverage over other people in a way that, okay, if you don't have those skills, you can quickly take one free online course on online teaching methods, and you put it in your CV that, oh, you took this course, nobody cares whether it's free or not. As far as you put it in your CV, your statements of purpose, you put it there that, oh, I've taken this course, I've taught some students, and those are the things that makes you to stand out. It's proof that you have done some research and you have an understanding of what the department is looking for. So it's one thing to know where these fundings are or the available funding opportunities. And it's another thing, as Ope rightly said, how you can get them. All right. So if it is by sending cold emails, that is the one way you can reach out to professors to get into their lab or get research assistantship positions. But how do you go about it? Knowledge is one thing, application is another thing. Some people have this general knowledge. We post on Twitter and everything. Some just read the first part of the post and they won't even open it. They'll come back and immediately ask you a question of what you have answered there. I'll be like, if you can't read the post I made, then you're not ready. If you can't read it to the end, then you're not ready. I made a video, I answered the questions on a video. Someone come back to ask me almost the same thing I answered in the first few minutes of that video. It's strange. So when informations are shared, it is good for you to go through it thoroughly to understand what is there. Develop that reading culture, as Pope said, and you reach out to any professor. You must do your own research. Make sure that you have done background work, okay? So because professors are busy, don't just reach out to them just casually. Your email must have content for them to pay attention to it. All right. So everyone, thank you very for that expository talk, presentation, and insights. And anyone that have questions, please, this is the time to ask your question. Ask any questions you feel you need clarity on. All right. So we take questions right now, and okay. Do you have something to say while I wait for people to ask questions?
Yes. As you wait for people, I just wanted to reiterate some of the things you have said, which is that the application process, it also prepares you for grad school. It says that the qualities that the process itself builds within you are the qualities you would need to excel in grad school. So see the application process as a learning process too. You understand? Like, as you were saying Sunday about the issue of the post that people don't read and everything, it pains me. At one day, I was always kind enough to respond, but I thought of it one day and I sat down and I was concerned. I said, God, I say there's something wrong with the educational system. You understand? Where we can't really sit down to read and research things thoroughly first before arriving at conclusion. So we have to. So the application process it's a learning process. You build qualities within you, and I'm glad that some of us are hearing this thing. It's going to take people far. It takes people far when you can read thoroughly. One thing I noticed in the US is that people here have a reading culture. You will see they'll give you instructions for an exam or for an assignment. All you need to have is in that assignment, and they will grade you based on how well you follow the instructions. You understand? So we don't have the chance of people asking unnecessary questions about things that are already there. No, because people will read thoroughly. So it's really important. And I wanted to say something. I don't know if you have gotten questions yet. Let me know when you have the questions so that I can then respond. So I wanted to say something, which is that about the cold emails, I tell you that those emails are very important. Even if you are not really looking, even if you don't, for example, if you send a cold email in the US, what you mostly get in return is, in the US, we don't apply to a professor, we apply to the program. And that's all, they wish you all the best. But do you know one thing? The person you are sending a cold email to will not forget your name. Now, it's not as though you are trying to use, for those of us who don't understand this lingo, but long legs or trying to gain access into the system by reaching out to people, unnecessarily. But what you are doing is you are portraying yourself, you are reflecting the qualities that prove that you can succeed if admitted into the program. So when a professor is to review a set of applicants, a list of shortlist from a list of a pool of applicants, when the professor remembers the name of a student who reached out the other time, it makes it easier. It provides evidence. It corroborates some of the things that you put in your SOP. If you put in your SOP, I'm resilient, I'm driven. The fact that you reach out of your comfort zone also proves that, yes, what he's saying is authentic. He's authentic in what he's saying. You understand? So, but for other countries, or like the US where you apply to a program, for other countries, reaching out is really important. And so it might require you sometimes to, first of all, have an understanding of what the professor's research is all about. Avoid generic emails that you just send as, sir, I just came to check on you to know how you are doing. He's not even going to, so the professor is not going to respond to that email. But when you want to reach out to a professor, of course, you have to do your research. You have to read the literature thoroughly, understand the current state of the field and the trends of the field as well. This is the time when you attend conferences. There are so many free conferences, online conferences. Find those conferences, attend those conferences. I usually post some of these things, and other people do. Attend those conferences and network. When you attend a conference, find out those professors that you have been following on Twitter and send them a message. Hello, sir. It's nice to meet you here. Great job on this presentation, blah, blah, blah. You are building a relationship. So when you send a follow-up email, automatically he will respond to your email. If he has funding for just one spot, it is you he's going to accept. So, this application process, it builds a lot of things within you. It makes you the kind of person that you want to be as you start your program. So see that as a learning process and, learn.
That's very true. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, so that's very true. It's good that you take it very serious and make the most of it. So we have a few questions here. Because someone is asking, how can one improve their chances with low Cgpa?
Yeah.
I think you can attend to that.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Honestly, one thing I've noticed is that most of those who get scholarships are usually first class students or those who graduated with a 2-1. So I suppose that the person asking the question most likely will be asking about, by those Cgpa, the person would mean probably 2.2 or something less than that. So, but I will tell you something that for a PhD, for example, what they are looking for, apart from your grades, is not really actually an emphasis. What they're actually looking for is how well you can succeed in grad school. And that is beyond grades. That is beyond grades. Qualities like resilience, passion, drive. Those are things you can portray, even with a low Cgpa, by having research experience, for example, publications, volunteerism, those kind of things. So you need to find ways to supplement the grades that you have through those activities. For example, a professor will prefer to accept a student that graduates a 2.2 that has 4 years of lab experience plus 5 publications or even 6 publications, compared to a first-class student who did not do anything, who just remained idle for the next probably 3 or 2 years without a single publication. You understand?
Yeah.
So that is something you need to consider. You need to find ways of. So it might mean that probably if you don't have that much experience or that much output, you might decide to tarry a little bit your application to gather enough certification, supplement what you have by taking courses, certifications, and those kind of things. Those are things that can help to buttress what you already have by reason of your grades.
That's very true, Ted. Thank you very much. So grade, what I will add is that your grade is not a barrier, but having a low grade means that you need to put in more effort in other areas of your applications. As Ope have rightly said, you are going into a PhD. PhD is not where you prove your grades. It's more about your ability to do research. Okay, and that's where sending code emails can be of advantage to you. And once the professor is interested based on your experience or your research potentials or research ability, forget about your grade. They can waive all those things. So they are just set there as a standard. But if a professor needs you, every other thing is just secondary. Okay. So yeah. Now, when is the best time to send a code email? Weekday, weekend, or midweek?
That's a good question. So what I think is that because professors rarely read their emails during the weekends. So what that means is that when the professor arrives on Monday to read his email, he's most likely going to start reading the first email that he finds in his inbox. And so if you sent an email Friday evening, for example, and then the professor got loads of emails on Saturday and Sunday, and he gets to the office on Monday, he will start with the ones that arrived Sunday evening, and he will start addressing them. And if he's too busy, he might not have time to read the others below. So in my advice, therefore, is that if you want to send an email to a professor, you can target beginning of the week or midweek. Midweek is where everything's at its height. Professor is in the lab, is going to his desk and everything. So there is a chance that he might be on his laptop and he gets a prompt that an email has entered. And then he checks the email and he sees if you have a catchy subject of your email, he sees it, he might star it to address it later, or he might address it immediately. So that is my opinion. But if it's a professor who reads his emails during the weekend, then if you send an email probably on Friday or so, he might have time to sit down and address it. But I would think that if your email is relevant by reason of how you can catch the attention by the subject, even if he starts it, he will still create time. Even if you send it during the weekdays, he will create time whenever he has to address it. So it's much better because of looking at the schedule of most professors and how the emails come in to send at the beginning of the midweek. It increases your chances of him reading your email and then creating time to respond.
All right.
I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Sunday.
Yeah, basically, I think you said it. So targeting during the weekday is very important, as you've said. So, and also check your time zone difference. So if you can target to send the email, let's say 8 o'clock on the dot, so it will be on the top priority once the professor gets to office. So check the time zone difference from where you're sending it and try to ensure that your email arrived in the morning or during the noon.
Yeah, you could also send a follow-up email as well.
Yes, a follow-up email, I advise, once you send an email to a professor, don't send a follow-up at least 2 weeks after. If you send a follow-up 2 weeks after, don't just send it today, few days after you're sending a follow-up. They have it, they might be working on responding.
Yeah.
So give them some time to do
You won't want to put them under unnecessary pressure.
Exactly. So another one is, do we get funding before admission or application or vice versa? Because some funding require admission before funding can be done. So okay, you want to answer that?
Yeah, so I think it depends. It depends on the program you're applying to. Some programs require you to come with external funding even before applying. Some will provide funding. Some will first give you the admission and then you secure funding for it. A good example is Australia. Many schools in Australia, what they do is that you first of all apply to a program, you get admission. Then they will expect you to pay like, what do you call it? You'll pay a certain amount out of the entire fee. They would reimburse it later on, but you have to pay it back after. You have to pay it after getting your admission, then they reimburse later. So it depends on the program one is applying to. Some programs, you need to check what the program states. The program says that you have to secure funding. So when you're checking a program, there are different tabs. One of them talks about finances. And then you read about what the funding opportunities are and check if it specifies on whether you have to have gained admission first in the program, then secure funding, or you come with your own funding, your program. But I will tell you something that, when you have your funding before applying, it really increases your chances of getting into a program. There are some scholarships that you can apply to together by including the name of a school, which means that you first of all get the scholarship, first of all get the funding, then you get into the program. A good example is in the life sciences, if you apply to Cambridge, for example, you first of all get this funding first, then you apply to Cambridge and you now get admission. Once you already have funding, Cambridge will easily accept you. You understand? So different countries have different approaches and they are unique for each country, unique for each university. And that's where you have to thoroughly find out those different things. But I can tell you for sure, for the UK, in most cases, you need to have funding, and then you apply to the school for admission. So you get funding to the program, then you apply to the school, then the school grants you admission. That's what it is for UK in most cases.
All right, I think you made a response to that. If it is for most schools in the US or programs in the US, what usually happens is that you'll be given an offer. And worst time is when you apply for graduate program, it is the graduate school that gives you admission or offer. And then funding usually comes from the department. So sometimes it can come together. It might come the same time while you receive an offer for admission and funding will come together. Some offer will come, then after a few weeks or thereabout, the department will send you an offer letter for funding. So, but if it is for US, UK, other countries, it is specific. So for UK, you might want to apply to Commonwealth Scholarship. They will ask you to get an offer from 3 different schools. Then while you are applying to those schools, those schools will ask you, how do you want to fund the program? Then you specify Commonwealth Scholarship, even though you don't have it yet. But you said, oh, I'm applying for Commonwealth Scholarship. That's how I want to fund it. So they will give you an offer, then you get the scholarship. So it's country and specifically, yeah. Okay. Is it that important to go for English proficiency exam in order to get scholarship and grant a teaching assistantship position while we wait for admission session? So okay, let me answer this quickly. English proficiency exam is school specific, right? I know a lot of schools now are waiving it. They're not making it compulsory anymore. Like University of Alabama, if you are from certain countries that speaks English, that teach in English, you don't need to write it. I have a video on that where I did a session on the free application week and the TOEFL waiver and everything. You can check the channel. So yeah, if it's required for you to write it for the school you're applying to, then you might need to write it. But I know most schools are waiving it to this. And you can send email to the school to tell them that, oh, I was taught in English, I'm proficient and all those stuff. So they are likely going to waive it if you do that. All right. So can one get PhD admission with a first class BSc from Nigeria? I think we've addressed that.
Yes, you can. But I would say something that you can. It's possible, although it's rare. But particularly for the certain programs, let me explain. Like in engineering, it's easy for you to get a PhD position if you have a first class for engineering. Engineering is usually 4 or 5 years or so. And then with the first class, mathematics is another example too, because mathematics does not require research experience, But for in the life sciences, where you apart from your grades, you also need some amount of research experience, lab experience. So it's usually more difficult unless you are able to apply to a school that would consider your grades among other non-research criteria and then accept you. So it's doable. It's doable, although it's in most cases quite rare. I'm talking about just graduating and then going straight for a PhD. But if you graduated and then you worked for some time, maybe during your NYSC, you worked in a lab or something, or then you had 1 extra year of research too. When you apply, you can get in. You understand? If you are in first class, but you have some, even without a master's, but you have some additional research experience, then that can take it. But it's rare for those who usually transition, that is, they apply in their 3rd year or their 4th year, final year, and they go straight for a PhD. Most cases, most programs are usually engineering, mathematics, or programs that don't require you to have unique research experience, such as life science, where you need to have worked in the lab. And in Africa, the paucity of resources, we can't really get those labs available. So first class students need to have a waiting period where they gather as much experience that they can, publish papers, reviews, and those kind of things to then apply. That's what I have observed. I don't know if you want to say anything about that.
Yes, that's very true. It is very possible. I know a lot of people who have gotten into PhD,
a lot
even in life sciences, but in most cases, they have at least a publication. That's just the thing. Research experience is important if you are coming through that route. So yeah, if it is possible, yes, it is possible. So that's what I would say.
So let me just add before you mention that. For that person who asks a question, if you're in that situation, I would say go ahead and apply. There's no harm applying. You
Definitely.
have enough research experience, even with your bachelor's, your research done during your bachelor's and everything. Find the right school and go ahead and apply.
Okay, someone is asking, I think this is, in order of relevance, how will you rank publications, award, presentation, research, experience, volunteerism, certification? All this cannot be ranked in any order. Okay, so as much as you have, learn how to leverage on it. These are all areas of strength. Or if you are applying to research-based program like PhD in life science and all that, then your research experience stands out among all, right? Your publication stands out among all. Your presentation, maybe research presentation, they all stands out. Then your award that you have received, your volunteerism, all those things are good. But for research-based programs, it is what relates directly to research that is most important. So in that case, you know what those are, as I mentioned. Okay.
Can I possibly just add one thing?
Go on.
That? Okay. So what I will add to that is that although you can't actually rank them, but based on my experience in the US, I'll tell you how it works in the US. In the US, as far as my field is concerned, the most important thing for them is research experience. Yes, then publication is not even important because students who are applying in the US are usually undergrads, and a typical undergrad in my field has at least 2 years of research experience. So you need to understand the kind of people you are competing with. So undergrads don't have publication, but they have research experience, some of them 2 or 3 years. So research experience might be really important in the US, more important than a publication. So if you don't have a publication and you want to apply to a country for a PhD, I would say apply to the US. If you want to apply to the UK, it's very research. The UK is research, independent research based. You understand? UK applying to into Europe, for example, where a program is just 3 or 4 years of pure research, you need to have publications, because those things give you an edge, even if you don't have publications, but try to have at least 1 or 2 when you're applying to a school in the UK or in Europe, because it's really competitive. You see students who are applying, people who are applying with 5 or 6 publications. In the US, is not something they consider because undergrads usually transition to the US, so they rarely have publications. They focus on other things like your story and coursework, and then research experience. Really important for the US, from my personal experience, at least for my program. For the life sciences generally, usually important because I have experience.
Yeah, that's very true. All right, guys. I think this is where we'll be drawing the curtain. We started at 3:05 and this is 4:05. So thank you everyone for joining us. First of all, I want to appreciate Ope for dishing out such wonderful insights, experience, and everything. So wonderful to have him here today. So quickly before we go, if you have not subscribed to this channel, I believe everyone here have done that. But if you've not, do well to subscribe and share this video with your friends. We've talked about a lot of things here. What we shared here today, is priceless. Okay, and you can't go wrong if you have people like Ope. I'll say myself, to leverage on experience that we have gathered over time, right? We're giving it out because we don't want other people to repeat the mistake we made. Maybe if I share my own story, you know that I did a lot of mistakes before.
I don't think you made as much mistakes as that.
Maybe not as much as you did, but
yeah, mine was something else, another level.
so the days of ignorance,
Yes.
Knowledge is key. When you have knowledge, you get to your destination faster and easier, right? So you don't have to make a mistake of 1 year when you can leverage on other people's experience. And that is the essence of this scholarship inside in 60 minutes. just to share experience, give you insight, guide you on making your decisions. And at the end of the day, it is all about you. 90% of what you need to do to get into grad school is dependent on you, the effort you are ready to put in. All right. So I know there's a question I didn't take. I think I omitted it. And the person was asking, when you say a low grade, what exactly do you mean? So what that means is, in the US, for instance, most programs will say you must have 3.0 on a 4.0 scale. So that's the minimum, right? So, but when you have something lower below that minimum threshold, it can be regarded as a low grade, all right? So 3.0 is more like saying 2.1 in Nigerian standard or something. But when you have something lower than that, there are things you can do that you go on and do waste evaluation. Most time waste evaluation and improve your grades, or you start to send cold email to professor if you have research experience. Once you even see it on most websites that, okay, provisional admission will be given to people with lower grade than the specified one. So that means that you can be given admission even with a low grade. I have a lot of people with third class who have gotten fully funded PhD program offers in the US. So it's possible with any grade you have. You just need to know what to do, how to leverage another area of your strength. Okay. So with that, we'll be wrapping it up. And if you have I know someone is asking about HND. People with HND also get PhD funding in US. So US is not about, one thing I like about US is that they are not very strict in their requirements.
Yeah, they're not so much about certificates.
Yeah, they are not so much about certificates, about what you can do. So if you can prove to them that your HND, the courses you took in HND is equivalent to this, the number of hours required, so they will accept it from you. So it's about you presenting your case and defending your case. That's the thing. So don't let anything, whatever HND you have or something, limit you. Just go ahead and explore. You can fulfill your dream, right? Mm-hmm. Sure. So thank you everyone for your time, and we'll be wrapping it up here. Hope to see you in the next session. For now, maybe to the next to the end of the year or thereabouts, scholarship insight in 60 minutes. We take a break. I've been doing it every week consistently, and it's a lot of preparation. Getting people like Okwe to come here is not easy, So it takes a lot of effort from my side, and right now schoolwork is a lot. I know Okwe is going back to to go and.
But I have assignments.
So guys, we are creating this time to be here, not because we have a lot of time on our hand. Don't know what to do with it, but we feel like we need to share this information to guide you in order to attain your goals. All right. So yeah. So scholarship insight in 60 minutes will continue, but I'll be taking a break, to focus on my studies squarely. And after that, we'll come back stronger and we move on. All right. So I wish you all the best in your applications. For those of you applying to the University of Alabama, the free application week is from this coming Monday to Friday. I know you've already gotten your apply for the code. If you have applied for the code, they will send it to you on Monday, so you can use it to submit your application. So I hope to welcome a lot of new students to University of Alabama next fall. All right, we are expecting you, and you can apply to Okwe School. There are a lot of more than 4,000 universities in the US.
Yeah, Hopkins is waiting for you too.
All right, guys, take care of yourself and have a lovely weekend. Okay.
And subscribe.
Like this video, click the thumbs up button there, share it with your friends, and keep supporting this program. And have a lovely weekend.
All right.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
All right.